Greetings adventurers, and welcome to the Loot Goblin Marketplace. In the spirit of Christmas, I decided to stop by the Twisted Pint Tavern and get myself a holiday nog, and during that time, we talked a little bit and we went through some stories to determine who was naughty or nice. I'm going to give him a chance to introduce himself here, and then when you click on the link in the channel description, it'll bring it to his video where we cover the rest of the stories.
Hi, I'm Zyl from the Twisted Pint Tavern, and I want to say thanks to Loot Goblin for swinging by the tavern and reading some stories with me.
Am I the a-hole for making my players wear hats? I'm terrible at remembering to make my players make concentration checks, just the worst. So for my New Year's Eve game coming up, I've had the brilliant idea of making players with active concentration on spells wear giant hats in real life so I can remember. I don't need to know if this is a bad idea, I'm already convinced of its genius. Yeah, no, honestly, this is absolute cinema, no notes.
Agreed. No critiques here. If the players are fine with the hats, go for the hats. Am I the a-hole for telling my flatmate I was hurt when he started a D&D campaign without me? My flatmate, 31M, we'll call him Luke, and I, 27M, have been friends for 5 years and living together for 2. Both of us are big fans of D&D, as well as a number of our mutual friends. I led a campaign with him, his girlfriend Amy, another mutual friend, and my then best friend Frankie. I let the campaign fizzle out as I was getting frustrated by players not putting in the effort to give me notice when they weren't attending sessions or just would not turn up at all with little to no communication. Back in December last year, I was away on holiday and I found out through Frankie that Luke ran a one-shot D&D session, a story done in one session, with Frankie, Amy, the same mutual friend, and a few others. I was hurt by this as he could have asked me if I was interested, and we could have either worked out another date to play or I just let folks play without me. At the very least, I feel I could have been told and not find out through a passing comment by Frankie. I told Luke this, and he just said okay and dismissed it. No surprise to anyone, at the beginning of this year, Luke began a full weekly campaign with the same group of people held at our flat every week, and I was never invited to join. I had to make plans every week to not be in the house because it would be painfully awkward with me around. One time I hung around in the kitchen while my dinner was cooking and listened in a bit, and Luke yelled at me to stop listening. On one hand, the party he has is already big, so I understand why he wouldn't want another player. On the other hand, what's one more person, and why is he sensitive when I'm around? So am I the a-hole for being hurt that I'm not allowed to join his D&D group?
So I kind of wanted to give the benefit of the doubt to the flatmate at first, but then obviously the author here does reach out. He says, hey, I want to be part of the group, and then he doesn't find a place for him, says, oh, it's full, it's too busy, you can't play. And then after that, he doesn't want him to even listen to the sessions. Makes me a little suspicious.
Yeah, I agree. Like, at first, there's nothing wrong with it. Your friends don't need your permission to play D&D without them, especially just a one-shot. Like, if they started a full campaign, they knew you wanted to play, and they did it specifically when you were out of town, I could see some potential concern there. But a one-shot when you're out of town is completely harmless. The point where it starts getting a little funky is when the flatmate is like yelling at you to stop listening in and you feel like you can't be in your own house when they're playing because it's awkward. I almost wonder if there's either some missing context that we're not aware of or if the flatmate's just kind of an insensitive prick.
Yeah, I almost want to say that maybe someone else that played at the table, like probably not Frankie, their best friend, but the mutual friend, maybe the girlfriend, someone else is like, you know what, I don't really like when, OP here plays with us. Can you do another session without them? Because it does seem like it kind of comes out of nowhere where they're invited beforehand and then suddenly when the group tried it without them, someone decided that it's way better without him.
Yeah, it's just kind of like I said, I feel like we might be missing a little bit of intergroup drama there to explain why there was the sudden shift.
Yeah, maybe there was an RPG horror story on why he wasn't invited back.
Exactly.
We'll never know. Am I the a-hole for calling my partner an a-hole over a D&D game? So my partner and I, along with 3 friends, have been playing D&D for a while. The campaign actually started over 5 years ago with me and a friend and another party, but slowly morphed into a new party with new people. But I have been playing this single character for 5 years, so they mean a lot to me. I actually had several conversations with my partner over how I will genuinely be upset when they die, and that I've started getting anxious about recent sessions because of this. Yes, I know, I'm overly attached. Recently, we got what is being built up as a big bad evil guy for the season. Our team, 4 PCs, 2 NPCs, and 2-ish pets, are launching a full-scale assault on the boss, managing to sneak our way in with inside help. We solved a little puzzle, a character got a new weapon, and my partner's character had an odd vision. Then we found our inside man being dragged around by an enemy we fought before. Granted, last time we fought this enemy, we were coming off the back of 2 retreats from different fights, and we were all on our last legs. Plus, only 3 people were in that session, so it had been a difficult fight that we won because of an ex machina centered on my character. This time, leveled up and full health, it wasn't that hard. Granted, my partner's character took most of the attack because they play their sorcerer like a barbarian. We've gotten the enemy down, he's pretty effed up, so he's on his last legs, and my partner decides to expend all their sorcery points plus additional character features to do an AoE attack totaling over 100 damage, while the enemy was grappling me. The entire group went silent. Before I asked why they were attacking me as well, they responded with the immortal line of, "It's what my character would do." After a good 10 minutes of everyone, including the Dungeon Master, explaining to them that A. Using all sorcery points on the first enemy was a waste, B. Killing the highest level character in the party, who has one of the few spells that can stop the big bad evil guy, is a terrible idea, and C. The enemy is on like 9 HP, you could literally just stab him and he'd die. My partner relented and decided not to. Lo and behold, a single attack later, the enemy dies, we get some exposition, and the session ends. A few minutes later, I'm talking to my partner and say, I get that your character is a loner and stuff, but you don't have to be an a-hole with it. Now they are upset at me for calling them an a-hole and have decided to go visit their parents for a few days. Wow. I feel like I was justified, but one of my friends says, I get too worked up over a dumb little game.
So to start off just slightly playing the devil's advocate, okay, because I have a connection to this. Literally last night we were playing a D&D game. It was a 2nd edition game. My character is a rogue mage, and one of the party members went ahead of me in initiative and they ran down the hall. In 2nd edition, if you're preparing a spell, you kind of have to follow through with that. So I was already preparing a lightning bolt to go down the hall where there was a bunch of enemies. This one person ran down, I still cast the spell. Now, there's a difference because this person I knew was going to be able to make the saving throw, and the risk reward was a little different because instead of 1 bad guy with 9 hit points and a party member, it was 1 party member and 11 full health bugbears. So it was a little different, but I can understand it's what my character would do because I was just in that situation. As long as the stakes make sense, saying it's what my character would do when it's 1 guy and you're dumping a massive AoE that you know is going to kill your party member, let alone your partner's character, I think that's a little messed up.
Yeah, like, is there like a backstory reason? Like, is this the most hated like nemesis of this person to justify such an overreaction? Plus, did they even say anything cool when they did their final attack? It doesn't seem like they say anything up.
Yeah, you know, if they had some really cool, like, in-character line, like, "This is your last moment, demon," then at least it would have been a little cinematic, but... No, and then the fact that they're going to visit their parents for a few days, it just kind of seems like this person's partner is the one who took things out of proportion, whereas this person... While they admitted they're overly attached to the character, I think any reasonable person would kind of be like, what the hell, dude, if your character was about to be killed in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know enough about the like author here to know if, you know, they'd leave town for a couple days if the death did happen, but I don't know. It seems like they're a little bit more forward with what they were thinking, at least.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think the OP is the a-hole. I think their partner is just a bit unstable, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'd say the partner's just overzealous for sure.
Am I the a-hole? A player left, and I'm happy about it. Basically, after months of a forever DM nagging, especially towards me, he left the table, first blaming me for it, but after others called him out on his behavior, he changed his tone to, "We all messed up there." Yesterday was the first session without him as a player or spectator. Our characters were actually discussing plans and what they think about the situation. They were joking around with each other, even us as players did. Other players were more active, as if feeling like they can talk freely. I asked the DM later if he had fun since he really needed some relaxing time, and he confirmed. The door was left open for that ex-player so he can sort out things in his life, especially that he's a longtime online friend of the DM. But I caught myself thinking that part of me doesn't want him back. Is it bad of me to think so? I don't want to hurt the DM's feelings, and I want that ex-player to get into a better headspace, but I can't help but feel it was much more fun without him.
Yeah, honestly, there's no better feeling than when the problem player, you know, chooses to leave themselves so you don't have to kick them out of the group. I don't think you have to feel guilty about that.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with being happy about having a better time at the table. I mean, it sounds like the DM and this person were close, and that's why you're kind of feeling bad about this. And the fact that the door was left open and you're open to having them back if they get into a better headspace is great. But I mean, I at least, and I'm sure many other people have had moments where it's like, I'm having more fun now that insert player is no longer at the table. And yeah, you kind of feel a little crappy for it sometimes, but then you realize that the entire table's having more fun.
I get obviously that, they feel guilty because they're the reason the guy left, but if you're looking at like if they're the a-hole or not, it seems like the party has already decided that it was either mutual or it wasn't this guy's fault. So he wasn't solely the reason why this guy left.
Yeah, I definitely think not the a-hole.
Am I the a-hole for telling a kid about D&D? No.
Never.
All right, let's read it. I, 19 male, babysit for this conservative family in my town. I personally am very left-leaning, but I don't make a habit of involving politics with my work. I'm also dungeon mastering for a D&D campaign with my friends. Super fun, love it. Just my luck, the parents called me up super last minute to watch their son, 11, for a few hours on the same day I had a session. The gap was big enough that I could get there on time, but I still had some planning to do, so I brought some materials I needed inside with me, including a laptop and a sketchbook, to finish up while I watched him. A while in, the kid asked me what I'm drawing. I tell him it's a NPC for a story I'm writing. He then asks, I shit you not, what an NPC is. This kid is 11, so even though he may not play games at home, I figured he should have heard it from his friends at least because of the insult of being an NPC by others if you're boring or whatever. That's okay, I explained to him. We then proceeded to jump down a rabbit hole, me telling him all about tabletop role-playing games and what I'm planning for this session. I pretty much nerd out for 2.5 hours. The parents come back, I leave, everything seems good. Then I get a call from his mom telling me that they won't be hiring me again, ever. I ask why, and she goes on a rant about how I taught her son to worship the devil and corrupt his brain with sacrilegious nonsense, and how I should be ashamed of myself for even bringing such a horrible thing near a child. I simply tell her playing games isn't sacrilegious, that I'm sorry she thinks so before hanging up. I don't answer her calls after that, but she texts me paragraphs about how effed in the head I am, and how I need to be baptized and cleansed and blah blah blah. Ah yes, a classic paladin. The kid texts me apologizing for getting me in trouble. I have his number, previously approved by parents, and saying he thought my game stuff was cool. I tell him not to worry about it, and it's unfortunate his parents don't get the gamer mindset joke. Now his mom is even more mad at me for putting the phrase in his head, as it's some evil mantra I want him to spread. I feel bad for the kid because his parents are really nutty, but I also wonder if I've crossed a boundary by bringing that stuff inside their house. I mean, they asked a bit and I told them I was writing stories and making characters, but I could have been more clear about it to get their approval. Am I the a-hole?
I don't think you're the a-hole because this is very satanic panic era sounding and yet was posted not that long ago. So I'm guessing that this is just a family that is holding on dearly to that satanic panic kind of mindset about D&D. And it's not like you went and gave the kid a bunch of dice and a character sheet and started having him roll it up without the parents' approval, which even then, I don't know if I would say it's a problem, but he just asked and you told him what you were doing, and that's kind of that. I mean, it's D&D. It's not actually a sacrilegious satanic thing, and I think the parents are being really overkill, especially because they're fine with their 11-year-old having a cell phone, but don't want them knowing anything about video games and TTRPGs and all that. It just seems backwards.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they're probably going to learn it in some context eventually, and not only that, like, I think the only thing the OP did wrong here is maybe not blocking their numbers sooner, because like I get if you respond to the kid it's only going to make the mom even angrier and you're going to get more and more paragraphs, but you kind of just have to cut ties with them. Like people like that, I don't know, they're not open to being taught any other way about the game. I feel like at this point, like you said, it's recent, they would have like changed by now.
Exactly, and especially with it being D&D. I mean, there are some games where, again, I don't necessarily think you would be wrong for explaining, answering the question, what are you doing or what are you drawing for? But if you were running a game that was, more into the occult side of things and had a lot of those anti-religious, kind of sentiments, then I could see maybe wanting to double check with the parents before you lore dump on their kid. But even in that sense, it's kind of not really your problem if the parents are really overkill on that. And that's coming from a parent. I have kids and I don't think it's anyone's fault for answering my kid's question unless it's about something that is very clearly going to be a problem.
Yeah, no, unless the drawings were of a very adult commission nature, maybe I could see them, but from what it seems like, it's just standard prep for like, hey, here's the bandit you're going to fight today. Like, there's nothing they could be drawing. There's no question they could be answering in that session prep that would be, you know, as corrupting as these parents want to make it sound like.
Am I the a-hole for not allowing my lycanthropy curse to be cured? First, sorry for the mistakes. English is not my first language. A little background, I'm a drow born into a very important family in Menzoberranzan. I was always the black sheep of the family because the arcane arts never interested me and because I have a difficult character. I left the Underdark and found a new family in the Red Moon clan, who took me in and helped me improve my innate, and rare in my race, skills with swords and axes. After having an epiphany in which I felt Loth's blessing, I decided to strike out on my own path. Recently, I found myself in a rather hairy situation, so to speak. A couple of days after arriving in the town of Barovia, a place we did not reach by our own decision, I found myself in the middle of a street fight and was bitten by a werewolf. Yes, everything seems to indicate that I now have the curse of lycanthropy. The thing is, it didn't worry me much. I'm used to dealing with my own anger and rage, so I thought I could handle this too. In some ways, I see lycanthropy as an extension of my ability to control the wilder parts of myself. But it seems that my fellow adventurers are not as convinced as I am, particularly one called Titus. He's a bit self-righteous and we don't get along very well. Recently, Titus approached me while we were walking in Vallaki, doing some shopping and tried to talk about the curse, before I quickly changed the subject and continued walking as if nothing had happened. I think he intended to help me get rid of this curse. However, I'm not interested. I think I can use this to my advantage, just like I channel my rage into battle. But now I have the feeling that my decisions could be affecting the group's trust in me. I would also like to add that this place, Barovia, doesn't seem so bad to me. I think if this vampire landlord wasn't chasing us, I could get used to it here. So am I the a-hole for not allowing them to cure my lycanthropy curse? Should I have considered the feelings and concerns of my companions more, or am I within my rights to choose how to handle my own curse?
All right, so first of all, he kind of wrote this in character, or is it just me?
No, and he also said, sorry for the mistakes, English is not my first language, and then had 0 mistakes in the entire post, so credit there too.
Yeah, well, maybe the drow's proficient in common, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, no, so in character, I maybe he would be a little bit, but obviously as a player, it's an interesting character to do, and I don't know, I kind of want to see how the narrative pans out for as well, so I don't hate him trying to do that for his character.
Yeah, I agree. To me, I mean, if you're worried about things being a problem at the table with this, then I would say just be open with the party. Say, hey, in character, in game, you guys can roleplay whatever distrust and concern you have, and it can be a really cool plot moment. But above the table here, I want this to be pursued. I want this to become something of a character development point or a plot point for my character. And you could even talk to the DM and say, hey, you don't have to like change your plans massively or anything, but I want to see how this plays out and have this be a part of my story. I think that that'd be really cool.
Yeah, no, I think the question here is how malicious is your DM going to be? Like, are they going to really make you regret it? If not, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a really fun moment at the table.
I mean, let me put it like this. In my Curse of Strahd game, my brother's character is a werewolf. He's got the Curse of Lycanthropy, and it is a major plot point. But he doesn't have the full werewolf abilities because he has a silver collar that Strahd put on him that suppresses his changing. So at worst, the DM could do something like that if they wanted to keep the power in check while the plot developed.
Yeah, no, that can definitely be a good way to handle it. Give the party means to, make it manageable and not like a TPK waiting to happen.
Exactly.
Am I the a-hole for thinking this choice from the DM is ridiculous? It is the last session of the campaign. Characters will be retired after this session. We have cornered the big bad in his evil lair. We have gotten his HP down low. On his turn, he opens a portal and says, I have a magical nuke in some unnamed city. Leave through this portal now or I will detonate it. If you attack me, it will go off with some kind of magical dead man switch. We have no way of knowing if it is a bluff. We continue to fight him, kill him after a slog of a battle, and the Dungeon Master says, well, you killed the big bad, but you're responsible for thousands of people dying now. I'm sorry, but WTF, first of all, this is a dumb choice to offer players when there will be no chance to track down the big bad in the future. By the way, Big Bad was doing horrible experimentations on hundreds of people, turning them into flesh monsters, so he probably would have killed just as many people as the nuke did if we let him go. It's basically saying that a satisfying conclusion to the campaign simply isn't allowed. Secondly, why the hell should we be expected to trust his word? That portal could easily lead into the air above a volcano for all we know. Lastly, why would the big bad simply ask for us to leave if he's holding an entire city hostage? Why not demand our surrender? Why not demand we lay down and die right there? I genuinely cannot tell what the hell the DM was going for with this. Should I talk to the Dungeon Master about it? I don't really plan on playing with him in the future anyways, so I could just forget about it. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth and ruins the entire campaign for me.
I think that this could be a really cool plot point if it weren't the last session of the game. Like if this was, the conclusion to Arc 2 and you guys were still meeting next week to start Arc 3 of the campaign, then, sure, go for it. But having this be the last session, knowing that this is the last session and then the characters straight up retire, that's just intentionally depriving your players of a satisfying ending. Unless the DM had a plan to start a second campaign with new characters to chase after this guy. But I kind of feel like that's something that you should maybe hint at so that the players aren't just well, screw you, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I kind of agree with him when he was saying, why isn't there any option for us to have a satisfying ending? And why wouldn't he just make us, bow to him as the ending? Why is he opening a portal to have us go off? It's totally weird. And I kind of like what you were saying too, where this would be a great midway point where maybe the big bad evil guy shows up, he is seemingly defeated, and he kind of pulls this trump card where he actually makes the whole city bow to him because now, they can't actually take him hostage, or he's just going to blow up the city and take them out with him. And then, for the next few sessions are finding a way to disarm the dead man switch. I'm confused.
Yeah, I think that the decision for it to be the last session was maybe made after the DM had already written his 5-part novel series, and this is just halfway through book 2, so he just was stubborn and didn't want to change anything or something.
Yeah, that's the problem too with having a big bad evil guy where it's the DM's pet favorite that he doesn't want him to lose. There's always going to be a weird trump card this guy has, and for some reason, yeah, I wouldn't trust going through that portal either. I feel like he could easily send you to some plane, have all your characters die, and then goes, you guys are stupid. He was bluffing.
Yeah,
there
was no nuke. I just teleported you into the astral plane. Good luck.
Thanks again, Luke, for hanging out and reading some stories with me, and I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas.
Thanks for stopping by. I hope you guys enjoyed this collab. Make sure to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to do the exact same to Twisted Pine Tavern. In addition to providing his voice and the stories for today's 2 videos, he's been editing all my stuff since back in August, and he's been making my holiday season a lot easier. So please give his channel some love. I hope to see you in the next video. Farewell for now.